Carl Jung once warned that the rarest souls walk among us unnoticed, carrying within them an architecture of mind so unusual, so advanced, that society mistakes it for madness. These individuals live like manuscripts locked in forgotten libraries, unread, misunderstood, yet containing the very keys to the future of human consciousness. Tonight, I will reveal what Jung himself called the differentiated individuals, a group representing less than 5% of humanity. Their perception is sharper, their depth unfathomable, their intensity unbearable for the ordinary. But here lies the paradox. They are not celebrated as pioneers. They are condemned as misfits, told they are too much, too sensitive, too complicated. But Jung insisted otherwise. These are not flaws. These are evolutionary upgrades. You are not broken. You are breakthrough. And the 10 signs I'm about to unveil will show you why. If you recognize yourself in them, understand this. The world is not rejecting you because you are unworthy. The world is rejecting you because you are ahead of it. And like every forbidden manuscript in history, truth always appears dangerous before it is understood. Let us begin. Sign 1, emotional depth beyond the ordinary. Imagine entering a cathedral. The architecture is designed not just to shelter, but to amplify sound, to make a single note reverberate as if it were a choir of angels. This is your inner world. Ordinary people feel emotions like notes on a piano. You feel them like symphonies echoing in cathedrals. Jung called these affect-toned complexes, layers of feeling stacked upon each other, forming resonances that vibrate through the psyche. When most people are touched by sadness, they experience a shadow passing overhead. You experience a storm that reshapes the landscape of your mind. When joy visits them, it is a spark. For you, it is a blaze, illuminating every forgotten corner of memory. Society, blind to this depth, labels it overreacting, too emotional, unstable. But Jung disagreed. He saw in this depth not instability, but sophistication. You are not drowning in feelings. You are navigating oceans that others pretend don't exist. Think of this. You enter a room where no one has spoken yet, and you feel the unspoken tension before a single word is uttered. You sense joy hidden behind silence, or bitterness hiding beneath polite smiles. Your nervous system is tuned to currents others cannot detect. This is not fragility. It is sensitivity, the kind of sensitivity evolution equips to scouts, visionaries, and prophets. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But for you, everything, every vibration, every glance, every pause, opens not just self-knowledge, but hidden corridors of human truth. You live in a cathedral of emotion, and whether it feels like blessing or curse depends on whether you learn to honor the music instead of silencing it." Sign 2, sacred curiosity. Most people, Jung observed, live what he called unconscious lives. They inherit scripts, obey customs, and rarely ask why. But you are different. For you, every why is a doorway, and you cannot stop opening them. Why do we accept systems that reduce human potential? Why do relationships decay into performance instead of authenticity? Why do we pretend that shallow conversations equal connection? You cannot turn off this interrogation of reality. It is not cynicism. It is sacred curiosity. Jung named this the transcendent function, the psyche's ability to bridge what is and what could be. When you ask questions, you are not seeking to annoy or dismantle. You are seeking to expand. Yet society despises such curiosity. It threatens illusions. It destabilizes comfort. And so you've likely been told, stop overthinking. Don't ask so many questions. Accept things as they are. But you can't. because you see that beneath every surface explanation lies another chamber of truth. Consider history. Every revolution, every renaissance, every leap of consciousness was triggered not by the complacent, but by the curious. Galileo dared to ask whether the earth truly sat at the center of creation. Jung himself asked whether the unconscious was merely chaos or a structured cosmos of archetypes. The rare individuals who carry sacred curiosity do not merely live in the world, they remake it. But here lies the burden. Your questions make others uncomfortable. You threaten the fragile scaffolding of their beliefs. To them you are dangerous. But Jung would tell you, hold the question anyway, because questions are torches, and if you set them down to appease others, darkness will win. If you have ever been told you think too much, remember this: civilization was built by those who refused to stop thinking. Sign 3, conscious independence. Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. For rare personalities, this acceptance is not a luxury, it is survival. You learned, often through suffering, that to depend on others for your identity is quicksand, and so you built yourself from the ground up. This independence is not rebellion, it is necessity. While most mold themselves to fit into families, peer groups, or cultural scripts, you had no such option. Perhaps betrayal forced it. Perhaps abandonment demanded it. Or perhaps the sheer weight of your truth could not be contained in borrowed identities. Whatever the cause, you stood up alone. You built a self that could not be taken away by another's approval or destroyed by another's absence. Jung called this individuation, the psychological process of becoming whole. It requires facing the shadow, those aspects of yourself you were taught to reject, the anger, the grief, the hunger for meaning. You faced them not because you wanted to, but because life offered no alternative. And in facing them, you discovered strength others will never know. Your solitude is not exile, it is sanctuary. It is the inner temple where masks dissolve, where borrowed roles disintegrate, where the raw essence of your being becomes undeniable. Most people fear this aloneness. You have tasted its bitter medicine and found it was healing all along. Understand this. Your independence does not mean you cannot love. It means you do not confuse attachment with identity. You walk beside others, but you do not disappear into them. You offer connection, not codependency. You offer authenticity, not performance. This is why Jung believed rare individuals are vital. They remind humanity what it means to be whole. While others live as fragments, you insist on integrity. And though it is terrifying, it is also liberating, because once you have known your own ground, no storm can uproot you. These are the first 3 signs of rare psychological architecture: emotional depth, sacred curiosity, and conscious independence. But we have only just opened the manuscript. The pages ahead reveal even more. The intuition that reads the invisible, the hunger for meaning that defies convention, the capacity to transform by presence alone. If you recognize yourself already, stay with me. The next signs will explain why your life has always felt like exile, and why that exile may be proof that you are evolution in human form. We have already uncovered 3 signs of Jung's rarest individuals: emotional depth, sacred curiosity, and conscious independence. But the manuscript does not end there. It descends further into the labyrinth of the psyche. The next 4 signs reveal gifts so unusual that they can feel like curses, unless you learn to wield them with discernment. Sign 4, hyperintuitive awareness. Jung once described intuition as perception via the unconscious. Most people perceive what their eyes see and their ears hear, but you perceive the unsaid, the invisible, the tremors beneath the earth before the earthquake comes. You notice the micro-expression that flickers across someone's face for a fraction of a second. You feel the atmosphere of a room before a word has been spoken. You sense when someone says, "I'm fine," but their very soul is screaming otherwise. Others call it paranoia. Jung knew it as intuition functioning at advanced levels. But beware, this sensitivity is double-edged. Without boundaries, you absorb what is not yours. You become the silent therapist, the emotional regulator, the one who carries everyone else's pain. Exhaustion follows and resentment blooms. Jung warned of this trap. He taught that such rare awareness must be disciplined, shielded, or it will consume you. Consider the ancient seers. In every civilization, those who could read hidden patterns were both revered and feared. Kings consulted them, yet mobs exiled them. Why? Because truth sensing is dangerous. It destabilizes illusions. Your intuition is a lighthouse, but to shine continuously, the keeper must tend the flame. Guard your energy, or you will burn out while guiding ships that never thank you. Sign 5. Hunger for meaning. For most, distraction suffices. Entertainment, achievement, validation, these keep the emptiness at bay. But not for you. Your psyche rebels against the shallow. You crave depth, authenticity, purpose. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." For you, anything less feels like betrayal. This hunger can be torment. You've probably tried living as others do, chasing approval, mimicking success, conforming to expectations. And yet, the applause rang hollow. The trophies turned to dust. The laughter in the room felt like silence in your chest. Why? Because your psyche does not tolerate inauthenticity. To betray your essence is to court illness. Jung called it neurosis, the rebellion of the soul against false living. This is why ordinary pleasures fail you. You cannot pretend a shallow goal matters. You cannot build relationships based on convenience. You cannot work a job that starves your spirit. Your system simply will not allow it. You are wired for meaning, even if meaning costs you everything. But here is the hidden truth. Those who crave meaning become evolutionary catalysts. Their refusal to settle awakens others. Their demand for authenticity threatens the comfortable numbness of the collective. Your hunger is not weakness. It is fuel. It is the fire that has lit revolutions, scriptures, and renaissances. You were not made to eat crumbs. You were made to demand bread from heaven. Sign 6. Evolution through shedding. Jung observed that psychological growth often feels like death. He called it psychological death and rebirth. For rare individuals, this is not metaphor. It is lived reality. You outgrow people. You outgrow places. You outgrow versions of yourself. Think back. The friends who once felt like family no longer understand you. The environments that once felt like home now feel suffocating. The beliefs you once clung to now crumble in your hands. At first, this feels like betrayal. Why can't I stay where I was happy? Why do I always lose what once felt safe? But the truth is simpler. You cannot fit into skins you have shed. Evolution is irreversible. Others resist growth to maintain belonging. You, however, cannot. Once you glimpse truth, you cannot unsee it. Once you taste freedom, you cannot return to chains. This is why your path feels lonely. The tribe that knew you when you were smaller may demand that you shrink again, but you cannot. You are bound to the spiral of becoming. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. Every shedding cuts away comfort. Every rebirth births isolation. But every cycle also reveals a new layer of selfhood. You are not betraying your past. You are honoring your becoming. If people resent your growth, remember this. They miss the version of you that kept them comfortable. But your evolution is not negotiable. To stop would be to die while still alive. Oh. Sign 7, transformational presence. Jung compared the meeting of two personalities to the collision of chemical substances. If there is reaction, both are transformed. You embody this truth. Your presence alters environments. People speak to you and feel seen in ways they never experienced. They unburden themselves without knowing why. They leave your company feeling shifted, unsettled, awakened. You do not force this. It happens because you carry psychological holding space, the rare capacity to witness without judgment, to listen beneath words, to create safety where truth can emerge. This is not charisma. It is something deeper, the alchemy of presence. But again, beware. Such presence becomes a magnet. You attract the broken, the seekers, the ones starving for light. They mistake you for healer, therapist, savior. And if you're not careful, you sacrifice yourself at their altars. Jung observed this danger and called it helper syndrome. Giving without boundaries, healing without rest, sacrificing until nothing remains. The work is not to stop caring. The work is to discern, to know who is ready for transformation and who merely wants to consume your energy, to remember that your presence is precious and not everyone has earned access to it. Understand this. Your gift is not small. It is world-altering. A single conversation with you can redirect a life. A single moment of your authenticity can dismantle someone's facade. This is why people both crave you and fear you. You are a mirror, and mirrors terrify those who live in lies. These are signs 4 through 7, hyper-intuitive awareness, hunger for meaning, evolution through shedding, and transformational presence. Together, they explain why your life often feels heavy, why your relationships fracture, why strangers confide in you without reason. They also explain why you feel so different and why you are, but the manuscript is not finished. 3 more signs remain, and they contain the deepest mystery, the vision that transcends the present, the unshakable integrity that defies corruption, and the purpose that whispers from beyond the veil of ordinary life. The final section will show you not just who you are, but why you are here. We have journeyed far into the hidden manuscript of Jung's rarest personalities. 7 signs have already unveiled themselves: emotional depth, sacred curiosity, conscious independence, hyper-intuitive awareness, hunger for meaning, evolution through shedding, and transformational presence. Each has shown us why life feels both unbearable and extraordinary for those who carry this architecture. But the final 3 signs are the most profound. They reveal not only how you perceive the world, but why you were placed in it. Sign 8, a vision that transcends the present. Most people are bound to the immediate, the next paycheck, the next distraction, the next fleeting pleasure. You are bound to something else, visions that stretch beyond the horizon of the ordinary. Jung called it active imagination, the psyche's capacity to bring forth images, possibilities, and futures from the unconscious. You sense potential others cannot. You glimpse outcomes before they unfold. You dream symbols that later manifest in waking life. To others, this looks like coincidence. To you, it feels like prophecy. This is not fantasy. It is pattern recognition on a scale that unnerves the logical mind. History's visionaries carried this same burden. Leonardo sketched flying machines centuries before engines. Jung himself mapped archetypes before neuroscience confirmed the brain's patterning instincts. To see ahead of your time is lonely. People laugh at the seer until history catches up. and by then the seer has already moved on. This vision terrifies those invested in the present order, because to see what could be exposes the smallness of what is. You are not naive, you are evolutionary. Your imagination is not escapism, it is architecture. You are building futures in silence while others are still defending the ruins of the past. Pace. Sign 9. Unshakable integrity. Jung warned that when a person lives against their psychological type, the result is illness, anxiety, emptiness, despair. You know this truth in your bones. For you, compromise feels like poison. Pretending feels like suffocation. Lies taste like ashes. Integrity is not moral superiority for you. It is survival. This is why you struggle in environments built on deception. You cannot flatter false authority. You cannot pretend shallow goals matter. You cannot betray your inner compass, even when silence would be safer. Others call this stubbornness. Jung would call it alignment. Integrity, in rare individuals, carries a price. You may lose jobs, friendships, even families. But what is lost through integrity is never truly yours to keep. What remains is unbreakable, a self untouchable by corruption, a life that can stand naked in the light. Understand this. You are not difficult. You are whole. Your refusal to betray yourself is not arrogance. It is necessity. Jung saw this refusal as proof of individuation, the highest stage of psychological maturity. While most barter fragments of themselves for belonging, you choose the terrifying freedom of authenticity. And though it isolates you, it also liberates you. You are untouchable because you cannot be bought. Sign 10. A calling that will not stay silent. Perhaps the rarest trait of all is this, the persistent sense that you are meant for something beyond yourself. Jung named it the transcendent function, the psyche's drive toward individuation and purpose. You feel it as restlessness, as knowing, as a voice beneath your thoughts whispering, there is more. Fame cannot satisfy it. Comfort cannot silence it. Even success leaves it hungry. Because this calling is not about achievement. It is about alignment. It is not personal. It is transpersonal. It is not about becoming important. It is about becoming necessary. Jung warned that ignoring this calling leads to illness of the soul, depression, anxiety, a sense of meaninglessness, because the psyche will not allow you to betray destiny without punishment. You must answer the call, not someday. Now, and what is this calling? To serve the evolution of consciousness itself. Through your depth, your questions, your presence, your refusal to settle, you drag humanity forward, often against its will. You are not here to fit in. You are here to expand what it means to be human. The final warning. Jung also knew that with great rarity comes great danger. 3 shadows stalk rare individuals. The superiority. Shadow. Believing rarity makes you better, not simply different. This breeds arrogance and isolation. The messianic shadow. Believing you must save everyone. This leads to exhaustion and resentment. The martyrdom shadow. Believing your gift condemns you to suffering. This kills joy and silences purpose. The task is not to erase these shadows, but to integrate them, to make them conscious so they cannot rule you from the dark. Jung insisted, true wholeness includes light and shadow, humility and power, vision and grounding. The 3 kinds of relationships. If you are rare, you will encounter 3 kinds of people. Light seekers, they crave your fire but cannot match it. They drain without meaning to. Light dimmers. They fear your intensity and try to shrink you. They resent what you awaken in them. Light matchers, the rarest of all, those who carry their own fire and can stand beside you without consuming or diminishing you. Your task is to discern, to protect your energy, to give your presence wisely, to build with those who can meet you in wholeness. The responsibility of rarity. Remember, you are not rare for yourself alone. Jung believed such individuals are bridges between unconscious and conscious, between old and new, between what humanity is and what it could be. Your sensitivity is intelligence. Your intensity is fuel. Your refusal to settle is progress. But with this comes responsibility, to live consciously, to wield your gifts with humility, to remember you are not above others, but ahead of them, and your task is to light paths, not to burn them down. The closing revelation. Carl Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. That is your work. Not to make everyone understand you, not to beg for belonging, but to embrace your architecture without apology, to live so authentically that your life itself becomes a map for others who are lost. Yes, you will feel lonely. Yes, you will be misunderstood. Yes, you will be told you are too much. But the truth is the opposite. The world is too little. And it is precisely for this reason that you are here. You are not just different. You are evolutionary consciousness in human form. Every time you refuse to settle, you stretch the fabric of what is possible. Every time you choose authenticity over acceptance, you raise the ceiling for human potential. Every time you walk alone rather than betray yourself, you carve a path that others will someday follow. So do not dim, do not shrink, do not apologize. The manuscript of your soul was never meant to gather dust in hidden libraries. It was meant to be read by the future. If even half of these signs spoke to you, write it in the comments. I am psychologically rare and proud. Share this with someone who doubts their intensity, their sensitivity, their truth, because they too may be carrying the same manuscript inside them, waiting for someone to say, "You are not broken, you are breakthrough." Subscribe, because this is only the beginning. We are just starting to explore the forbidden pages of Jung's psychology. And remember this, until we meet in the next dimension, you are not too much for the world. The world is too little for you. And the rarest among us are the ones who change that. Roche Sauvage doesn't speak to everyone, only to those who feel.